Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick.
I'm Ian.
Today we're talking about the music that we've recently been listening to. There's a bunch of links down below. Make sure you go check them out. There's links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlist we put together every week, and the Patreon page. Make sure you go check all that out. Of course, if you've enjoyed the episode, make sure you give us the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time we release new episodes. So I think we've done a video like this before, where we kind of just run through some of the music we've recently been listening to. I tend to try to find some new interesting stuff to check out. And to be completely honest, I really haven't lately. I've been listening to some newer stuff from artists I've listened to for a long time, but it is all pretty good. The first one is one that, this is probably the only really thing I've really started listening to lately that I didn't listen to previously. And that's the new album from Post Malone, Austin. I was never a big Post Malone fan. I like some of his songs. I never really got into like a full album of his. I think Hollywood is Bleeding is another great album from him. But it's one that I can't really listen to a whole lot. Of course, the one track with Ozzy is...
That's really the only track of his I know.
Yeah, that's a great one on that one. But overall, it's a really good album. But I didn't really get into his music until Austin came out. Austin's much different. Is a very different kind of album than anything he's released before. It's definitely more guitar driven. I don't want to call it a rock album. It's not a rock album. It's more like a synth pop kind of album, which is definitely different than the rap stuff he's done before. This is also the first album that he's released where he didn't have other artists on here. It's just him in the studio, and it's actually a really, really good album if you're kind of like a casual, like I said, synth pop kind of fan. I at least go on and check it out, stream it, and give it a listen.
So one album that I've been listening to, obviously, because it just came out a week ago, is Alice Cooper's Road. Obviously, anyone who's watched the videos knows I'm an Alice Cooper fan. So this has been on my rotation for the last week. It's a great album, too. Everyone's been raving about it. I mean, someone said it's the best in 20 years. I don't know if I go quite that far.
I would.
But I don't know, because I think Dirty Diamonds is one of his best albums ever. So, and that was in 2006. That was less than 20 years ago. So, but it's still a fantastic album. And it's kind of different. It's, unique sounding to a point, but it's Alice all the way through and through.
It's an album that I think has a different sound, a different feel to it because it's recorded live in the studio. There's no overdubs. There's nothing like that. He really wanted to showcase his road band. It really comes through on this album. Personally, I think when it comes to Alice Cooper, I'm more of a fan of the band era of Alice Cooper than his solo stuff. I think this is a lot closer to the earlier part of that Alice Cooper band stuff than anything he's done since then.
Maybe less experimental. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I like about the Alice Cooper band unit is the music was a bit more experimental than his solo stuff.
This is definitely a straightforward kind of rock album.
Yeah, straight rock album. It's fantastic.
Another new album that I've been kind of hooked on lately came out the same day as Road by Alice Cooper, and then it's Find a Way Home by MXPX. Of course, I'm a huge MXPX fan. I have been for a long, long time. This album is one that I think is going to kind of have to grow on me a little bit. As far as like looking at their 11 studio albums, I think it probably fits somewhere in the middle as far as like favorites go. But there's some really great stuff on here. It's definitely more of a kind of like I would say a late 90s punk rock album than anything else you'd hear coming out over the last probably 10 years or so. Definitely has there's some stuff on here that has I'd say a very strong like Blink-182 kind of sound to the songs, which I think is a great thing. It's something you're not seeing a lot of punk bands do nowadays. A lot of the newer punk stuff you've seen definitely has more of like a hip hop flair kind of to some of it. But just like I said, straightforward kind of punk rock album. That's definitely a good one.
So I guess this one isn't something I've been listening to. It's something that I started listening to today because it just came out. It's the 40th anniversary Broadsword and the Beast by Jethro Tull.
I guess you could have held up my vinyl.
I could have. My vinyl collection is at home, so I just happened to have this because I went and picked this up at one of our local record stores today. I haven't really had a chance to go through this yet, but this is pretty much going to occupy my listening for the next week or two, if not more, to really get a feel for the new mixes and everything else.
Because the new mix is done by Steve Wilson. He's done the previous 13 Jethro Tull albums. Also,
yes, 13, I think, yeah. And his mixes, for the most part, there's some controversy about his mixes in some cases, but I think, aside from a few things here and there, I think his mixes have been fantastic.
I would say overall, yeah, I enjoy most of them.
Yeah.
Another one that I kind of just randomly started listening to a lot lately. I think it probably has to do with the fact that their new Greatest Hits album was just released. But that is the first Greatest Hits compilation from Aerosmith. This was released back in 1980. So this is all like the great 70s stuff on here, which is my favorite period from the band. Even though I did get into like Permanent Vacation, Pump.
Their kind of comeback, that 5-year period from their comeback was
really good. And then I kind of lost interest largely after Pump was released. So my favorite period of the band will always be like I said, the early 70s period. I'll probably will eventually pick up that the new Greatest Hits, but this is one that I've had, like I said, out of kind of nowhere I started.
I would imagine that their new one's going to have a lot of these songs on there.
It does.
Plenty to get some of the good songs off their other eras.
Yeah.
So another band I've been listening to, I don't have anything to show because I haven't been able to find any of their records yet. But it's a band called Night Flight Orchestra. It's kind of a super group from a bunch of like death metal bands.
Okay.
Doing like slightly harder rock, but 80s pop, like Hall & Oates.
Really?
Like there's songs that are totally, I'm like, that's a Hall & Oates song, kind of.
That's interesting.
But it's like
what's the name of the band?
Tattooed, bald-headed lead singer guy who's like from a Swedish death metal band. It's fantastic. The Night Flight Orchestra.
Okay.
They've got like 7 albums out, and I think they're going to be releasing a new album this year. They released a single called The Sensation. The single's really good.
Yeah.
So I've been listening to their album, just kind of going through their catalog. Kind of a new band I never knew existed until recently. But yeah, I'm really digging it. It's got like total 80s vibe. Some songs, like I said, Hall & Oates-esque. Some of it even like Boston Journey, but the 80s versions of them.
Interesting.
And it's like I said, it comes from a bunch of death metal guys from Sweden.
Since the new 30th anniversary edition of Dookie was announced and just up for pre-order in the last several weeks, of course it's been an album that I've had on repeat quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. It's an album that I really love. This album. This was the album that really kind of, even though I say "And Out Come the Wolves" from Rancid really got me into punk, this was really my first entry into punk music in the early part of the 90s. And then I didn't really start like discovering other stuff in the realm of punk until I stumbled across Rancid. But this was the first punk album for me. It was
probably for a lot of people our age, to be honest.
Yeah, because it was 94 when this came out.
Yeah.
So it's a great album. It's one that still stands up today.
Oh, absolutely. So the last one, I mean, I've been listening to a lot of different stuff lately, but this is one I keep going back to. I mean, this has been out for a while. Phantom Mind by Ghost. I was hanging out with my dad today, and I played him Road by Alice Cooper. And when that finished, I put this on. And for some reason, in his mind, he thought we were still listening to Alice Cooper.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was really weird. But I did point out.
It doesn't really sound like Alice Cooper.
No, but I think, and when I told him kind of the shtick of Ghost, because he doesn't obviously know it, he was like, I guess it's kind of Alice Cooper. It's new Alice Cooper anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for a cover album, I'm not a big fan of cover albums. This is only the second out of 2, or the second cover album I've actually liked. But it's not just an EP, which is another downsell for me because it's short.
Well,
I just love
it was all part of the. I think it was all taken from when they were recording Impera. It was all stuff from the Impera sessions. That's why it's on an EP. It's a great EP though. It's a great. I think it's probably one of my top 5 or 10
I'm more of
albums
a
of the year
throw a
so far.
CD on and get minimum 40, 45 minutes out of music. Yeah. Listen to 25 minutes of music is just.
It's a little short.
I have songs on CDs that are longer than this album. You know what I mean? So, but it just as a rule, I don't go for EPs, and I keep going back to this almost once a week. I have to listen to this album. So, so this has definitely been on my playlist.
And then the last one I got is an album that I've listened to a lot over the last couple of months because I saw them in concert earlier this year for the first time ever. They put on an incredible show, and that is "Show" by The Cure. Been a huge fan of the band for a long, long time. And actually, this is the picture disc from Record Store Day. This is getting reissued on standard black vinyl here in a couple weeks. And I've got that on pre-order
it might
already.
sound a little bit. You said this actually sounds pretty good for a picture disc.
This is fantastic.
Because picture discs, as a rule, don't always sound very good. But I'm more likely to buy a standard. Because I mean, then you're guaranteed to get at least no surprises.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this compares to the standard version, Because you're right. Picture discs tend to be kind of noisy, but this is a great one. This is probably one of the best sounding picture discs I own. And The Cure typically does a pretty good job with the picture discs. But this is a great show, recorded here in Michigan, 1993 or 94. I don't remember what year it was that it came out. This is part of the Wish tour. And, you know, for being 30 years later, Robert Smith sounds exactly the same today as he did back then. Well, that's all we got for you today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Make sure you drop us a comment down below. Let us know what you've been listening to, because I love that kind of stuff. I always like discovering new stuff, seeing what other people are listening to. So when I go to the record store, I'm like peeking over people's shoulder as they're like flipping through the records. I'm interested to see what other people are listening to. But let us know what you guys think. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give us a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all we got. Until next time.
Talk to y'all later.
Keep on spinning. Peace.